Well, when you have a filthy commie writing your G.I. Joe comics, what could possibly go wrong? Excuse me. An ode to diversity in comics there. Cough Squad represent. So I've been following this whole uproar in the comic books industry because I actually relate to it a lot with the whole tweeting out something controversial and then people trying to get you fired kind of drama as I ran into a few years ago for daring to make light of a situation. But this communist writes on the G.I. Joe series, which is interesting, obviously. And in case this may come as a surprise to you, but a lot of military folks like the G.I. Joe comic series. And the other day, he tweeted out something that, in my opinion, was pretty sad. It said, he tweeted this out on 9/11, which, look, no jokes or comments are off limits. He's entitled to his opinion, but I'm also entitled to disagree with that opinion, right? Oh, good. It's Self-Centered National Tragedy Remembrance Day from people who weren't even anywhere near New York City Day. So what he's saying is basically, in my lifetime, other than the recent hurricanes, the biggest terrorist event, the biggest national tragedy to ever happen, I have to have had to have lived in downtown Manhattan to actually be able to remember the 5,000 people that died that day and the tens of thousands that died fighting a war after it. In my opinion, 9/11 should probably be some sort of national holiday or a day of remembrance, just like a lot of other holidays. Although calling something like that a holiday seems kind of counter logical to me. It's not like Christmas or Easter, but it should be a national day of remembrance at minimum. He then goes on, I'm catching flack for this, but as a guy who stood in the streets of lower Manhattan where he lived and watched it all unfold, F you. Again, so because he allegedly lived there, I'd be interested to see where he lived, right? Because, of course, according to this tweet, he's basically at ground zero. He says, don't let people get away with co-opting tragedies for their own personal gain. Isn't that exactly what he's doing? Isn't that exactly what you're doing, Aubrey, when you're not bashing the fash? Isn't that exactly what you're doing? You're using this tragedy to push your agenda of anti-agenda. Can't you see that? What he said, I strongly disagree with. He's definitely very dumb. He writes for a comic book that is a beloved military figure that, is read by a lot of military folks. And if you take a dump on, patriotism and remembering the lives of people that had lost it that day, or the tens of thousands of people that were affected, this guy makes everyone mad, right? And you have people. This is exactly here. Relina Warcraft, of course. SJW lesbian space gem. Okay, confirmed. Childless weirdo doesn't read comics, almost guaranteed. Only co-ops the space to push their agenda. And if you want to embrace socialism, one of the most deadliest ideologies in history, in fact, the deadliest, I believe. That's your right. But again, you're an idiot. We have him saying stuff like, mostly white MAGA dudes in my mentions really eager to defend people who make 9/11 remembrances about themselves. That's not what he said. He said you're not allowed essentially to mourn or honor that day unless you lived in downtown Manhattan and specifically had the dust on your body, right? And this is everything that's wrong with comic pros, like in one Twitter feed. Again, know your audience. How stupid could you be? Okay. Look, most military folks are conservative. Most military folks I know voted for Trump. Okay. And they're also the people that are reading your G.I. Joe comic book. And they're the people that pay your salary. Not that you're not allowed to have an opinion, but maybe you should like not share it on 9/11. Maybe you should have a separate account that people don't follow you just because of where you work. You know, the only reason anyone follows this idiot is because he works on a comic book they like. They don't really, people don't agree with him and want to see more of his, toxic Trump obsession tweets. And this is a guy that unironically tweets about bashing Fash, right? I think I literally saw him, maybe it was a retweet. Oh gosh, I hope it was his original tweet. Oh yeah, here. Fight fascists in the effing street. This guy isn't fighting anybody in the streets. He's sitting behind his computer with his, with his patchouli and his incense and his little arrowhead necklaces and his creepy pedo smile, judging people because he's never accomplished a single thing in his life. I think we've established that I think his opinions are garbage. But what this video is actually about is IDWs and Colts, IDW, his publisher's reaction to it. I am not one of those people that are like, free speech, free speech, free speech, as long as I agree with it. I want to commend IDW about with their statement, right? There's been a lot of uproar around this, and they issued a statement that said, it's come to our attention that a freelance comic book writer, so they're distancing themselves here, whose work includes IDW titles, has expressed opinions on his own personal social media account that many find insensitive, divisive, and inflammatory. IDW in no way condones or supports these personal opinions whatsoever and recognizes the pain that they may cause our readers. Discussions regarding next steps are underway. We appreciate the patience and understanding of our many fans while these concerns are being addressed. Now, the first two paragraphs, I'm very, they're like textbook what I want to see. If I had to go back and work for the man again, and I had to worry about people getting offended about what I tweet hurting my livelihood, I don't subscribe to that. And this is the exact kind of statement I would want my boss to say. Look, it's his own personal Twitter. We don't endorse it. That's the end of it. The third paragraph here is a little like, I don't want to see the guy get fired. What I want to see is people to stop buying the book and then have him get laid off. I mean, I want capitalism. I want the open market to decide that he is no longer employable. I don't want people's outrage over a tweet to get him fired. Okay? So IDW, I want to commend you right now. If you end up firing this person, I don't agree with that. What he said is reprehensible, but it's on his own personal account. And what's going to happen is people are not going to buy his book. And people may not buy your books. And in that case, you might say, well, we had to let him go because otherwise people weren't going to buy our books. I understand why you feel that way, but I still don't support it. And one of the guys I follow, former military guy, Diversity in Comics, had a great tweet basically about this situation. He's at the 9/11 monument, literally, or as he calls it, poser central, right? Sick burn. I don't think he's going to get terminated. I don't want him to get terminated. I want him to I want the free market to terminate him. I don't like to see anyone get fired over their personal opinions, no matter how much I disagree with them. And I think Aubrey should just worry about writing better comic books. If he's going to use the platform that comic books gave him, he should respect that. He should have an alt account where he wants to spit this crap. Then, I mean, it's very easy to have multiple Twitter accounts. I have multiple Twitter accounts. If he wants to spit this commie crap, put it on a different account. But this is the account that comics built you, and you should just keep that in mind. I learned that the hard way.